your chamber yesterday, the House passed a new version of a bond referendum package, $2.8 billion, slightly different than that the governor came up with. And we appreciate that because it's got some East Carolina money in it as well. So how are you this morning? Good to see you, sir. Yes, sir. Senate President Phil Berger joining us as well. Talk about the bond package. Are you happy with that? And then I'll ask Senator Berger if he thinks it's got any chance in the Senate.
We're going to do a point-counterpoint.
There you go. I won't do that to y'all. I'll wait till y'all get in the conference committee to
It's
do
too
that.
early for all of that.
Yeah.
Well, we're obviously very pleased with the bond package that we passed yesterday. It was passed by a very strong bipartisan majority. It represents what we've seen as some key priorities in North Carolina in terms of funding. We've allocated money for the universities, for K-12, for community colleges. There's a transportation component. There's an agriculture piece, something that we felt like really need to be highlighted. A lot of infrastructure money, and right now interest rates are at record low levels, and we believe that we have an opportunity to do some financing. A good analogy was drawn yesterday by one of the members who said it's kind of like if you don't want to borrow money to paint your house. But if you decide you want to build an addition or remodel, a major remodel, you may borrow money for that. So we've tried to go in and find projects that justify borrowing money, and we want to be very, very frugal with that and good stewards of the taxpayers' money. But very pleased with that, and looking to see as that progresses through the legislature.
Again, Speaker of the House Tim Moore and Senate President Pro Tem Phil Berger joining us here this morning. I want to ask you both. I'll start with you, Mr. Speaker. The continuing resolution comes to an end on August 14th. You're either going to have a budget by then, or you're going to have to do an extension of the continuing resolution. There've been a lot of jokes about you guys being here till Halloween, and somebody wanted to put a Christmas tree in the legislative building.
It's already up.
Oh, it is. What are the chances that this can get done by August 14th? Is there any chance at all?
I suspect that we will need a continuing resolution excuse me, of some kind. I don't know for how long of a period, but the folks are working. The appropriations chairs are going to really probably start really hammering down in the next few days. Right now, some of the conversations are between Senator Berger and myself to try to agree on some high-level things, and then to let the appropriations chairs get into it. But there are a lot of issues. It's not so simple as saying, here's the amount of money and this is where you're going to spend it. There's also the question of how much money are you going to have? What are you going to do as far as tax policy? And then once you dive into the budget, there's how are you going to spend the money there. But I will say that I think Senator Berger and I have made a lot of headway on a lot of issues so that hopefully will allow us to move forward a little quicker.
Let me talk to Senator Phil Berger. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too, Henry.
You doing okay?
I cannot complain.
You've had a long, hot
I don't
summer.
quite have the tan that you do, so we've been indoors a lot this summer.
I'm not having to negotiate a budget, man. What are your thoughts about being able to get this done by August 14th? You hold the same feelings as a speaker?
Well, I am hopeful that we'll be able to get things done by the 14th of August. I think the more we talk about a continuing resolution, the more we take our eye off the ball as far as the budget is concerned. So we are working as diligently as we can to try to get the budget done by the 14th. I know the House folks are as well. We'll see what happens when we get closer to the 14th.
Yesterday, you had a press conference and you talked about the fact that you're willing to start compromising on some of the issues. There have been a lot of folks, the governor, folks in the House have said the Senate version of the budget had too much policy in it, and you addressed some of that yesterday. Talk about that some for me.
Well, we felt that those policies were things that directly impact the budget, and those were policies that rightly should be in the budget. However, we heard the complaints and the concerns, and if you make your way over to the legislative building today, you'll see that our Finance Committee is going to take up House Bill 117, which is the Economic Development Package. Our Finance Committee and our Appropriations Committee also will be working on some other things. The Medicaid bill will be taken up today as well. We should have those on the floor next week, send them back to the House next week.
I was trying to get Harry Brown on this morning, but I think Harry's out of town, and you must be having to carry the water for his budget bill for his sales tax redistribution. Boy, that's a hot item. It depends on who you talk to, whether or not that thing has any chance to fly. I know there were some rumors floating around yesterday that you and the Senate were willing to change the percentages a little bit to try to get more support for it. The mayor of Greenville has just come out vehemently opposed to this. A lot of folks in eastern North Carolina opposed to it. I know smaller counties would benefit, but Dare County this week had a press conference. They had every leader in Dare County that came out strongly asking you folks not to do this. Where do you stand on this sales tax redistribution plan that's been proposed by Senator Harry Brown?
First, what we would call it is a reallocation of the sales tax, because that's actually what it is. A lot of folks don't remember that in 2007, the legislature changed the allocation of the local sales tax from 50-50 to the current 25% point of population and 75% point of sale. So what happened in 2007 was something that really was a detriment to many of the counties across the state. In fact, if you look at the overall change as a result of just going back to what we had in 2007, you end up with about 85 counties, I believe, end up in much better shape, which means that the change in 2007 actually hurt those 85 counties and benefited 15 counties. So we're looking at that as a situation where people spend their money. A lot of the rural counties don't have the retail opportunities that they used to have. That money gets earned in the rural counties, gets spent in the more urban counties, and drains money away from the schools, from the necessary public services in the more rural counties. So we're still talking about that. We hope we will be able to get something worked out.
Speaker Moore and his friends in the House yesterday passed a $2.8 billion package to have a bond referendum on the ballot this coming November. Where's the Senate stand on that?
We want to get the budget done before we start talking about bonds.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Quick. I find myself in a unique position. I could actually do a point counterpoint here between the two top leaders of the legislature.
Except that you'll find that we do agree on just about everything. We're closer than folks think. Actually, we're together to go from here to another meeting, and we have an excellent working relationship, a good rapport between us. I actually have in my office something that belongs to the speaker that I'm holding for him till Christmas.
That's right. That's right.
You know what it is?
I do. And I will say, we always agree except when the Senate's wrong. So it's,
Which is never.
It's great to see you guys kind of geeing and hawing. I know a lot of the media that comes out is that there's so much consternation between folks up here. But I imagine it's, you have to work together so closely, Mr. Speaker, that the media probably makes more of that than it really exists.
Yeah. Well, if the real story usually is too boring to discuss, so it's kind of like reality TV. They have to, think about it, you have to find a way to make tuna fishing really exciting. And for those of us who've gone out tuna fishing, sometimes it's not exciting. So if you look at reality shows, that's the way the legislature often is covered.
I know you both have to go to your meeting with the governor here, but I do want to ask you both before we get off. With this budget, there are a lot of game-changing things that we feel could be pretty negative for Eastern North Carolina, particularly for the medical community. We have got some folks from Vidant here. We're very concerned about the Brody School of Medicine with the changing landscape of the way things are going in medicine, and there are several things. Not only Medicaid reform, but elimination of the deduction for hospitals taxes, certificate of need. Mr. Speaker, let me start with you. Where are you on those issues?
Well, we continue to support funding for Vidant. We recognize the importance of the ECU School of Medicine, not only to East Carolina University, but to the entire eastern region of North Carolina. And so we've represented that commitment with what we've done as far as spending. The bond package as well also provides for critical needs in eastern North Carolina, so we want to see that continue. CON reform is a debate that will need to happen on its own. We have a divided caucus on that. Don't know exactly how that'll work out, but there are legitimate concerns on both sides. It's the containing the cost of health care, free market principles versus the ability of the hospitals, which often operate at a loss on certain care, to be able to recoup some of that through certain services. So that's a very complicated issue that's going to take some time with good folks on both sides of the issue. Medicaid, we mentioned Medicaid reform. Medicaid reform will be a standalone piece that's dealt with. I know the Senate's going to pass their version or a version today. That'll come to the House, and we'll start discussions there. There are some good discussions that have happened on that to try to move the ball down the field, but I think everybody recognizes we have to do something on Medicaid reform. We have to contain those costs. And so what the final product will look like, I don't know that either of us could tell you that right now.
And Senator Berger, same question to you. Obviously, there are some in the Senate. Now, most of the things that are of a concern have come from the Senate. Not the CON bill, but the tax reform piece, which would change the way hospitals are exempt from paying certain taxes, and some Medicaid issues. Eastern North Carolina's economy is medicine, so we're very concerned about that. Where do you see it going?
Well, and I think what you have seen over the past 4 years is that the Senate, together with the House, has been very supportive of the needs of Eastern North Carolina, East Carolina University, and the medical school as well. I think what is happening is it's time for us to have a discussion about some broader economic issues, some broader things that are happening in the economy that we cannot ignore and need to be addressed. And so the Senate is going to continue to have as a priority those issues that you talked about, and we're going to discuss what changes, if any, need to be made.
I know you got to go. You got 5 minutes to walk to the governor's mansion. You can do it. You can do it because I've done it before. If you walk fast. Good to see you both. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Henry.
Speaker of the
Appreciate it.
House Tim Moore, Senate
Thanks, Henry.
President Pro Tem
Good to see you.
Phil Berger. Nice to have you both.